Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video I'll be going through the Adelaide vs Western Bulldogs game, a game in which I actually got the tip pretty good on, even though the rest of my tipping this round isn't going the greatest. With still 3 games to go, I've pretty much doubled my rank just due to the one upset that I predicted not actually going to plan. Yeah, Richmond suck. But yeah, this was a pretty good game for me. I predicted them to win by 45 in the end, and they won by 42, so actually a really good tip. And yeah, it was just the MARINOFF and Hatchard show, and there was nothing really from Western Bulldogs. I mean, Blackburn put up a good fight with 93, but no one else really from the Bulldogs did anything, and they lost the fantasy differential by 300 points. So let's get into the video here. And you can see MARINOFF here, 1-3-2, 32, 3 and 9, and you'll actually see her fantasy by quarter. She does this all the time. It's like on repeat. MARINOFF goes and then she doesn't do anything in the first quarter, and then turns up in the second quarter and just starts smashing at third and fourth. It happens every week, and I'm wondering, I don't get why it happens like this. If we look at MARINOFF in the first quarter of the game last week, she ended up 153. She was on 21 at that game. The week before that, if we go, where is Adelaide here? I think she did something similar again. Oh, she ended up on 91 that game, but she was on, what was she on at quarter time in that game? She was on 17 at quarter time, and she ended up getting 91, which is still 74 in the last 3 quarters. If we look at the GWS game in round 4, she ended up 174. She was on 30, so she went 144 in the last 3 quarters. So I don't think she's ever actually started the first game having more than a quarter of her total points. She just accumulates so much in the second and the third quarter. In round 3 against Essendon, she ended up 124, and this was actually the first time where she actually started off strong. She got 38 in the first. Out of 124, that's, what's that, roughly, I'm going to say 32% of her total score. 30% of her total score in the first quarter, which is, it's rare for her to do that. Richmond, she ended up 125, and she started 28 out of 125. Let's look at that. 28 divided by 125. That's 22%. So even that looks pretty good. But 22% of her total score, that's what her second highest percentage in the first quarter or something like that. Let me just double check the one. No, that was 18%. The Gold Coast tag was only 18%. And then in the first game when they played Port, she ended up 112, and she had, where is it down here, 19 in the first. So yeah, she never there's only one game in that second game where she got off to a hot start of 38, where she's actually the third game against, who was it, against Essendon, where she got out to 38 in the first, where she laid 6 tackles in the first, where she's actually gotten off to a decent start. She always is the biggest second and third quarter that I've seen. It's weird that this trend seems to pop up in every round. We've seen it at, 6 out of 7 rounds where she scored heavily in the second, third, and fourth quarter. So you have that, and Hatchard was first half specialist. I mean, she had 78 in the first and then crawled to get over to the 106 with a 28 second. Whereas you see with MARINOFF, she was on 65 and then pretty much doubled that in the second half, with just a sort of even split. And then this was a really weird one. Like, I guess Jones had 98. And I remember I was actually able to watch this game. But Kelly was sort of just meandering at 37. Like, a 74 for a forward isn't bad, especially with her, like, wing role, etc. And then in the third quarter, it was like 10 minutes to go on the clock, right? And she'd already had like 9 touches or something ridiculous like that. I think she ended up in the quarter with 10 touches or 11 touches. Let me just double check this. She just was on fire in the third quarter. She ended up with 11 touches in that third, and I'm pretty sure they all came very, very quickly. If we had like we did with the men's, when I was able to show you the timing of the points scored, I hope that pops up next year with the women's getting the same sort of thing. You'll see that Neve Kelly just on fire early in the quarter. She was on to 8 when most people were on about 4 or 3 touches. And so she ended up having 11 touches. I'm pretty sure MARINOFF might have... Let me just check what was MARINOFF's stats for the quarter. MARINOFF ended up with 8. 8 kicks, 8 disposals, 7 kicks, 1 handball, 3 and 2 marks and kicks respectively. And that's the thing with MARINOFF, is that she may not get the 38, 35, 36 touches that the likes of some of the other girls get, like Gardner and some like Conti, etc. But she is so happy that it's ridiculous. Like, she had 25 and 7, and that seems like a lowish split for her. Her kick to handball ratio, if we go here, and you'll see what I mean with this. If we look here, her kick to handball ratio is 3.76 at the moment. If we look at Hatchard here, I think you'll find that it's in the 2s. 0.95 here, so she's getting 3.76. If we look at even Blackburn here, another high scorer, and you'll see the trend here, 1.26 for Blackburn, and her best game was 4.14, it looks like, whereas if we go down to MARINOFF, her best game, it looks, that's opponent averages. Let's look at her game-by-game splits. Her best game was a 9, whereas if we look down at here, and then we look down at, she had a 22 split because she had 22 to 1. That's ridiculous. Blackburn, I guess, does have that odd game, but you more say that's an outlier compared to all her other games. Whereas if you look at MARINOFF, her worst game for kicks to handball this year, if you actually look at it, is 2.86. Was that actually last year that occurred? Oh, that was last year. So this year, if you actually look at Blackburn's stats, her best game is a 2.38, and her worst game is a 0.93, whereas MARINOFF here is, her worst game is a 2, and her best game is a 9. So I know that 9 is slightly inflated compared to the rest, but you got a 4.75 here, you got a 3.4, you got pretty much every number except for this 2 is above the best for Blackburn. So I think that pretty much proves the point that she has a crazy kick to handball ratio number compared to the rest, and that's why she gets a lot of points, because if she gets another say she gets the same amount of disposals compared to the likes of a like Conti, if Conti gets or if Blackburn gets a 32 disposals, she's gonna roughly have, I think, 32 disposals divided by 1.7. 17 or so? No, that's not right, I don't think. How can I do that? I don't know how necessarily, my math brain isn't firing up at the moment, how to calculate that, but I would say that that's probably roughly, 17 actually might, no, it'd probably be 18 or so, 19 if she was to have 30, say she had 30 touches with a 1.79 ratio, that would be probably, what is it? 30 divided by 1.79, maybe that gets it 16 compared to 13. That doesn't sound right. I would think it'd be more, it'd be more like 20 odd touches for the likes of Blackburn. 20 odd touches would be kicks and 10 would be handballs, whereas the likes of MARINOFF would be roughly 24 or so, 25 I think. I think that's the ratio that we're looking at. I think that's roughly it. It would be roughly 6 more points it'd be roughly a point more per 5 disposals or so, I think, is the ratio. So if she gets 30 odd disposals, that's another 5 or 6 points just generated from her kick to handball ratio over others. And that's crazy compared when you look at it, just gaining from the way she plays another 5 or 6 points just from her kick to handball ratio, aside from the fact that she has a high tackle amount. She is the best scorer in the comp, it seems like. I can't believe I rambled on for almost 10 minutes just about MARINOFF. Hatchard we talked about. Kelly, Charlton Newman, 71, 67, 66. Randall, again, just proving that her key back roll doesn't help her. And then no one else really doing much for Adelaide. Then we move on to Western Bulldogs, and we talked about Blackburn, Ferris, Lamb, Georgia, Stathis, Wilcox, Newton, Fitzgerald, Edmonds. No one else. Edmonds with a 60 does help that she didn't score well, because some people did say that she was going to do well, and she was on track to do well at 51 at half time. With her, it seemed like a kind run. And then I just had the likes of a Brown in here at 25 in the end for Brown. She didn't get going. But still, that should be some cash gen, I would suspect, with a 25. And then you've got Huntington 27, and Carrius did get a 37. If I'd kept her, it would have actually been a lot better, but I wouldn't have been able to do a lot of the stuff that I was able to do. And that's pretty much it here. No one else. These videos are generally probably going to be shorter now, as there isn't many rookies that are really doing well. And sort of you have so many girls that just sort of don't do much, to be honest. And we sort of know the top tier players. So that is pretty much the video there. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next one, which will be the St Kilda versus GWS game. See ya.